Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be chatting about infrastructure. And in that we're going to be talking about transportation, water, energy and digital systems. And I kind of want to start by talking a bit about the current infrastructure in this country. And I'm going to start with rail because I think rail is or was our kind of our proud moment with the invention of the steam engine and the infrastructure that bred, along with the Industrial Revolution, where we built an extensive rail network that we still have today. It's not up to standard today. It hasn't really been maintained, and it's not at the maximum size it used to be, but we do have an extensive rail network, and in most places there are railway stations. And along with that, obviously we have the Channel Tunnel, which is I want to talk a little bit about at the end of the video. But I think that's a really key part of how we can reinvent the way we do transport. But essentially, obviously, we've got the airports. We've got some huge airports like Heathrow, really busy. And recently, the debate has come back up about the third runway at Heathrow. Ports, we've got some of the biggest ports in Europe. We've got some really good ports, fairly good port infrastructure. What else we got? Motorways. We're not so good at motorways, are we? More recently, we have explored using what we call the hard shoulder, and creating a fourth lane on our motorways, which has been an absolute disaster. And for comparison, the UK has 2,300 miles of motorway. And you compare that to France. France has over 7,000 miles of motorway. So we can do a lot better. Our motorways were built a long time ago, and we haven't really probably kept up with the requirements, really. You know, the growing volume of traffic on the roads. We haven't kept up with that demand. Navigable waters. We have around about 5,000 miles of navigable waters. Used to be 7,000. And I want to chat again about that because I think that is something that can be better utilised in the future. And in that, you think about some of the rivers that we've got: Humber, Mersey, Severn, Thames, Trent. We've got some really good rivers. Moving on to water. Wow, water. I mean, it rains more than enough in this country, let me tell you. But we don't seem to do very well with water. Water bills, you speak to anybody, water bills just keep going up and up and up. And well, we have a high usage in this country for water, strangely. The infrastructure is poor. Our sewage systems are dating back to Victorian times. And so again, it's just not kept up with demand. More and more people, and the change in what we do. So obviously, what was it they called it? I can't remember what they called it. It was in London. There was this massive fatberg or something, I think they called it. And it was in the sewer, and it's just a build-up of like nappies and wet wipes and stuff, you know, and so we've changed as our consumer behaviors have changed. And reservoirs, I mean, when was the last time you heard of a new reservoir being built? So yeah, so we ain't looking so good so far, is it? Moving on to energy. And I don't think it gets much better really for energy. We are building new nuclear power sites, one being Hinkley Point, but it's costing so much money. And I am a supporter of nuclear energy. I think it's going to have a vital part to play in our energy supplies going forwards into the future. And I think it's poorly named, to be fair. But yeah. Okay. Digital services. Oh dear. I think the Conservative government really were fond of embarking on getting broadband access rolled out, fibre broadband access rolled out throughout the country, and that has been something that has been rolled out. It's not everywhere, nowhere near, but there has been improvements. There has been a lot of fibre. I know in my area, a few years back, Virgin Media ripped up all the roads and put fibre in. But I think network coverage, really, considering the country and the money that we have, the network coverage is really poor. So then we can talk about what I think are my ideas for energy. And for me, really, I'm kind of trying to think to future-proof it, which was kind of what they did with our motorways. When they were building the 3 lanes, they were trying to future-proof it, but it's gone beyond that now. So my proposals are trying to future-proof, and I think that autonomy is going to play a big part in the future if we allow it. And so I think we should work on that train network. I think we should really expand the train network. You know, not focus on high-speed rail, HS2, but utilize that money to build up on the network that we already have. You know, we can really, you know, use a lot of the rail network to move a lot more freight, because when it comes down to costs, and I think this ties in with both sides of the argument, which is a really great thing, in that rail is a lot more efficient. It is the second most efficient way of transporting goods, behind using the rivers. So use the rail network, use less less freight on the roads with the lorries. That could free up the road network so we can start to repair it, because I think the only way that we repair our roads now is to reduce the demand. It just causes too much problems. I mean, I think in this country, roadworks is probably the biggest issue in everyone's lives. You know, it just causes such issues, and I think we need to reduce the demand on the roads. And I think in that, utilizing the rail network to transport goods will bring costs down, but it'll also be environmentally friendly, because you think about the air pollution of the brakes on all the lorries, the tyre wear, obviously the fumes. So it kind of ticks both boxes, really. And as I was sort of getting to was previously the Channel Tunnel. You look at the China Belt and Road initiative that they've got, and we could be an extension to that. We could extend our rail. We could really increase the usage on the Channel Tunnel, bring a lot more goods through. And in that, I think that will then get rid of the argument for a third runway at Heathrow. So in doing this, I think we can tick a lot of boxes. What else have we got? So yeah, going back to the autonomy, I think the last mile, as they say, is probably going to be autonomous in the future. So if we were to have rail hubs and train stations that can handle the freight like we used to back in the Victorian times, then the last mile journeys will probably be autonomous. So that's kind of, I think, where the future will go if the right decisions are made in government. And I think this will tick all the right boxes. So yeah, and then the other thing, you go a lot across to a lot of European cities and you see trams, and I think trams are really, really good. And again, they have an opportunity to also be autonomous in the future. And I think they will be probably one of the earlier forms of transport to go autonomous, because it's a hell of a lot easier. But yeah, you know, I think we should build out more tram systems, because we've got a hell of a lot of bus networks that are running, and the buses have their own problems. And I just think really that the efficiency of a tram that can work alongside and complement the road traffic. So yeah, essentially, it's trains and trams. And then autonomous vehicles that are probably going to play their part alongside that. And ferries, you know, so we've already got the ports infrastructure there. The ferries and the shipping is the most efficient way to transport the goods. And you know, there's already a massive infrastructure there for that. But essentially, I think tying it all up, our infrastructure is aged. Our roads are aged. The rail network is aged. Our digital infrastructure is not developing fast enough. And we need to just spend money that we don't have to bring this up to standard. Really, really difficult to do. Really, really difficult task. But I think if we can bring the costs down of transporting goods, that makes a really, really good argument going forwards to spend the money and justify spending the money. So yeah, that's kind of my take on infrastructure. Let us know what you think. Like and subscribe if you could, please. And I'll see you on the next video.